On January 20th, 2025, Donald Trump was sworn in as the 47th President of the United States. That same day, or thereabouts, young men began arriving at federal department buildings. No uniforms, no traditional government IDs, laptops tucked under their arms, jeans, sneakers. They sat down at terminals and began working with databases previously accessible only to a few dozen specially cleared government employees. Databases from the Treasury Department, the Office of Personnel Management, the Department of Education, the Social Security Administration. Inside those databases, the Social Security number of every American. Addresses, dates of birth, tax returns, federal employee health information, biometric data, civil status. The records of 276,000 government workers, passport information, salaries, bank accounts. This wasn't a hack. This was official, legal, approved by the White House. The name of the organization they represented? DOGE, the Department of Government Efficiency. The name of the person who organized this? Elon Musk. Wait, before you read this as a regular news story, stop for a second and consider the scale. A private citizen, not elected, not appointed by the Senate, not vetted by the intelligence committees, not sworn in. A private citizen gained access to every American's financial, health, and personal data. This isn't a dystopian headline. This is what happened in February 2025, and this is just one of many layers to the story of how Elon Musk became the most powerful private citizen in the history of human civilization. Let's start with his biography, because the journey is just as important as the destination. Musk was born in Pretoria, South Africa, in 1971. His father is an electrical engineer and pilot. His mother is Canadian. He had a tough childhood. By his own admission, he was bullied and suffered several severe beatings. At 17, he left for Canada, then the United States. University of Pennsylvania, Physics and Economics, Stanford for graduate school. He dropped out after 2 days because, in 1995, the internet seemed more important than a dissertation. Zip, too, sold for $37 million. X.com. Merged with PayPal, exited with $100.8 million. He founded SpaceX in 2002. Tesla gained control in 2014. Then Solar City, Neuralink, The Boring Company, X, and DOGE. A career that has been described as serial entrepreneur. But that's not accurate. This is the career of a man who methodically built a system of control over critical infrastructure in several key areas simultaneously. Space. SpaceX is the only company in the world capable of regularly transporting people and cargo to and from orbit. NASA has depended on it to transport astronauts to the ISS since 1919, the end of the Space Shuttle program. The Pentagon depends on Falcon 9 to launch military reconnaissance satellites. SpaceX won a National Reconnaissance Office contract worth $1.8 billion to build a constellation of spy satellites, Project Starshield. It's the same company, same rockets, same crew, just different payloads. This means that whoever makes decisions at SpaceX has a direct role in the capabilities of American space reconnaissance. Starlink grew out of this same infrastructure. 9,753 active satellites as of June 2025. That's 52% of all objects in low orbit. 160 countries are covered by the signal. 8 million subscribers. The world's militaries are building their operational concepts around the possibility of using Starlink, or around impossibility if Musk refuses. Ukraine, Iran, Venezuela, Sudan. Each of these conflicts in one form or another boiled down to the question, what will one person in California decide about satellite coverage? Information. X, Twitter, was acquired in October 2022 for $44 billion. At the time of the purchase, it was the world's largest platform for real-time news sharing, political debate, and agenda setting. Musk fired 80% of his staff, more than 6,000 people. He reinstated thousands of suspended accounts, including those removed for systematically spreading misinformation, including Trump's. He changed the recommendation algorithm so that his own posts were shown first, regardless of follower count or engagement level. During the 2024 presidential election, X became the central platform for promoting Trump's candidacy. Musk personally invested approximately $200 million in the campaign, an unprecedented amount for a single private donor. He appeared at campaign rallies daily, becoming the candidate's de facto chief propagandist. According to researchers at the Media Manipulation Casebook, who analyzed traffic during the election period, X systematically limited the reach of posts critical of Trump and boosted the reach of pro-Trump content, regardless of its factual accuracy. Musk controls the news cycle of 180 million active users, of whom approximately 40% report getting their news from X. This isn't a social network. It's an influence machine par excellence, owned by one person, customized to their political views with no external regulatory oversight or independent oversight, finance and data. DOGE gained access to the Treasury Department's payment systems, which handle approximately $6 trillion in government spending annually, pensions, Social Security payments, and government employees' salaries. It gained access to Office of Personnel Management data, which stores biographical information for security clearances, medical records, bank details, and biometrics for every government employee. Tens of millions of records. It gained access to the Social Security Administration database, data on every U.S. citizen who has ever received Social Security benefits, including Social Security numbers, addresses, and civil status. Several 100 million records. The Washington Post, in an investigation dated June 30, 2025, explicitly stated that DOGE had access to information in at least 7 major agencies that contained or could contain trade secrets of Musk's company's competitors. This included details of unsecured government contracts in the aerospace sector, non-public data on regulatory decisions regarding Tesla's competitors in the automotive market. The Washington Post explicitly stated that this access could have given Musk a competitive advantage over his rivals in the private sector. There's no evidence he used it. The White House denies any wrongdoing, but the access itself is unprecedented in American history. No private citizen has ever been able to simultaneously see data on competitors stored in government systems while continuing to manage companies that compete with the very entities whose data is now accessible to them. When a senior employee of the Office of Personnel Management attempted to restrict the DOGE team's access to highly sensitive databases, he himself was blocked. According to Reuters, citing 2 federal officials, senior government officials suddenly discovered they had lost access to their agency's key databases. The U.S. Federal Personnel Management System came under the control of Musk's team. Courts began blocking individual elements. Federal Judge Paul Engelmeyer blocked DOGE's access to financial data systems and ordered the destruction of already copied records. An appeals court lifted the restriction in April 2025. The legal battle continues. While the court cases are ongoing, the data has already been obtained. No one officially knows what has been done with it. Now comes the most important part. Why this isn't just a story about a rich man with political influence. There have been many like that. Rockefeller controlled oil. Morgan controlled the banks. Hearst controlled the press. Each was a powerful force in their era, but each controlled only one thing, one industry, one sector, one instrument of influence. Why Musk is a fundamentally different case, because he doesn't have a single point of vulnerability. The average, wealthy, powerful individual controls only one thing. One asset can be attacked by regulators. One lever can be removed by legislation. Rockefeller was divided by the Supreme Court in 1911. They simply outlawed monopolies. Musk controls simultaneously access to orbit, SpaceX, military communications for several countries, Starlink, the primary information platform, X, the production of the world's best-selling electric cars, Tesla, research into neural brain interfaces, Neuralink, underground transportation infrastructure, The Boring Company, government data on every American, DOGE, and direct, informal access to the current U.S. president. None of these positions individually is unprecedented. Taken together, they grant control over the architecture of modern society that no private entity in history has ever had. and none of them can be taken away by a single regulatory decision, because each is located in a separate jurisdiction, regulated by different agencies, and all are connected only by the identity of one person. This is not a business empire. This is infrastructural sovereignty. Jeffrey Caballero, former director of the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, told the press in February 25th, "What's happening is unprecedented in American history. We've never given one private individual this level of access to critical government systems." Elizabeth Laird, director of the Civic Technology Program at the Center for Democracy and Technology, put it this way: "The ability to collect all this information gives the federal government, or whoever controls it, unprecedented power and control over people." There's another level that's rarely discussed publicly: Neuralink. In March 2024, the first patient received a Neuralink brain implant. The technology reads neural signals from the brain to control a computer. A paraplegic patient was able to move a computer cursor with his mind. This has medical applications, but the dual-use nature of the technology is clear. Musk is building an interface between the human brain and digital systems. He describes it as human-AI symbiosis, in the context of someone who simultaneously controls the world's largest space infrastructure, the world's premier information platform, and access to government data. The question of where this road leads isn't paranoia. It's a standard question of risk analysis. Musk denies all of this. Openness, transparency, efficiency, less bureaucracy, accessible space, free speech on uncensored platforms. He publicly espouses the position of a man who simply builds useful things faster than the government. Part of this argument is honest. SpaceX has indeed reduced the cost of launching into orbit by a factor of 20 compared to NASA's legacy. Tesla has indeed moved the electric vehicle market forward and accelerated the electrification of transportation globally. Starlink has indeed brought internet to people in remote areas of Kazakhstan, Nigeria, and Myanmar who previously had no internet. DOGE has indeed uncovered several documented cases of actual fraud involving government spending. None of these facts are lies, but the truth about a person is rarely one-dimensional, especially when it comes to power of this magnitude. History teaches one thing: tools are defined not by the intention of those who create them, but by the capabilities of those who wield them. And Musk's capabilities today have no historical precedent. But this raises a question that has no simple answer. When one person controls infrastructure of this scale, are their motivations neutral? Could they remain neutral? What happens to their satellite coverage if a country they politically support conflicts with a country they don't? What happens to access to information on Platform X if their views conflict with their interests? What happens to government data if DOGE obtains information about a competitor, SpaceX, during a cost hunt? This isn't a conspiracy theory. It's a fundamental question about the structure of power, one that political philosophers have been formulating for millennia. States exist precisely because concentrating power in a single hand has historically produced the same consequences. Democratic institutions were designed to divide power between branches, so that no single entity could control the military, information, infrastructure, and data simultaneously. This is called the separation of powers. Musk is not a state. No one elected him. But he controls more critical infrastructure than most members of the UN. No constitution, no term limits, no elections, no recall mechanism, no mandatory public disclosure of conflicts of interest. That doesn't make him a villain. He may act solely in the interests of the common good. But it does make the question, what happens if something goes wrong? The most important question about the structure of power in the 21st century. Because the answer to it doesn't exist. Not in existing law, not in international treaties, not in the doctrine of any state. A new type of power emerged before a mechanism for regulating it emerged. It has always been that way, with electricity, with nuclear energy, with the internet. The difference is that this time, power is concentrated not in the hands of the state, but in the hands of one man. And that man is Elon Musk.